Yeah, I'm
We
not.
need hold music.
Okay, folks. Well, we'll be getting started very soon. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
You see a flood of people joining us now. We're not quite at the top of the hour yet. All you early birds, obviously very organized. You always turn up to meetings early. You're always on time. Impressed. We're just going to give it. Another minute or two. Give people maybe a little minute after the top of the hour, and then we'll take it from there.
Just gonna close my door.
Yo, people are flooding in. On the basis that I complimented everybody that turned up early, I should give those that turn up late a hard time, shouldn't I? Thanks for joining, folks. We'll be starting any moment.
What are you, 12 now?
Okay, we are flooding in. We're just going to give it another 30 seconds, folks, then we'll get started. Okay, well, hello and welcome to another AxonOps Masterclass, a platform for providing regular bite-sized nuggets of knowledge from AxonOps and the community, currently focused on Cassandra and Kafka. Look out for additional data platform content in the future. Just for those that aren't familiar, we run to the top of the hour, and then we have an after dark session, which I'll be giving a little bit of information on later. So if you want to stay on, there's always some additional value around Q&A and other content after the formal end of the session. Just so you understand, we run two types of webinars. We run deep dive on Cassandra and Kafka topics, which we believe the community is interested in. We also do how-to guides around the AxonOps tooling for Cassandra and Kafka, which always includes great tips and tricks anyway around Cassandra and Kafka, but through the lens of AxonOps. This masterclass is the latter, and we're going to be reviewing 6 Cassandra Kafka problems through the lens of AxonOps. John is going to be covering that. We've also got John Haddad with us, who's going to be taking through his dashboards and his perspective in terms of how to view the performance and health of these clusters. I'm John Glendenning. I'm co-founder and CEO of AxonOps. I'm actually standing in for our usual compere, Steve Benton, who leads community engagement. He's currently on the side of a pool in Sardinia, probably with a cocktail in his hand. And Steve, I hope I'm doing okay. Now,
Not joined.
Steve likes to say you can't have a masterclass without some masters. That's kind of become the catchphrase today. We've got 2 familiar faces from previous masterclasses. Our own Johnny Miller from AxonOps and John Haddad, otherwise known as Rusty Razorblade. Starting with you, John, to give an intro. That's got to be ironic because surely you're the sharpest tool in the box.
Oh, look at you with the jokes. I love it. Hey, everyone. John Haddad. I'll keep it short. Cassandra operator, developer, committer, pretty much I've touched every single aspect of Cassandra. Consulting, Apple, Netflix, now consulting on my own. I just love doing this stuff, so I set up my own company doing it all the time. That's it.
Yeah. Johnny Miller, other co-founder of at AxonOps, the chief architect there. My background is a lot of engineering, a lot of Cassandra stuff, a lot of Kafka stuff. Yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, and so thanks guys, on to prize winners. So every masterclass we have a prize winner. If you flick to the next slide, please, Johnny.
Sorry, one sec. Something has gone wrong with Zoom.
Anyway, we have prize winners. The last masterclass, the prize was AxonOps support tickets. We gave away quite a few to those that stayed to the end. To win one of the prizes for the masterclass, we just asked you to stay to the end. Look, if you stay to the end, there's every chance you've got one of these support tickets. These can be used from anything from dealing with an incident to a health check to general knowledge, such as capacity planning. There's a lot of value there. It's a great way for us to engage the community and get to know you well, deliver a bit of value. So check your junk folder, check your inbox. You might even be reached out by LinkedIn. If you're on to the end last time, you may have won one of these, okay, one of these sport tickets. But this masterclass, we have 3 prizes. Next slide, please, Johnny. We have 3 masterclasses. We have 3 prizes. A one-on-one consulting session with John. He is going to spend an hour or 2 with you. He's going to review your dashboards. He's going to review your environment. There'll be a lot of gold there, a lot of nuggets, and you'll even be able to potentially even apply the AxonOps dashboards to your environment from John, his dashboards. Certainly get inspired from them with whatever monitoring tooling you're using in there. We're also going to give away a few more support tickets. These prove very popular, so look out for that. And we're going to have some swag. We've not been very good at swag, if I'm being honest. We're going to give some swag to any new AxonOps user. So look, we have a free product. It's free. It's a really easy thing to go register and sign up for. There's a QR code. There's a URL. Just sign up, connect your first node by the 11th of April. It'll take you 15 minutes, I promise you. And we're going to send you some swag. And I know we've got some customers on as well. So I just want to say to our customers that are on, we're going to send you some swag as well, because we've been really bad at that. So you're going to get some swag. Not sure what it is right now. Okay, so onto the agenda. So because this is a AxonOps tooling masterclass, Johnny's going to give, for those that aren't familiar with AxonOps, a very brief sort of vignette of all the capabilities of the platform. That'll only take a couple of minutes. But then he's going to go deeper into the platform by slicing through 6 problems through the lens of AxonOps. Okay, it's through the lens of AxonOps, but there's going to be a lot of information about why these things are problems and why you should care about them. And we're going to be demonstrating how to address those issues through the lens of AxonOps. John Haddad, our friend John, Mr. Rusty Razorblade, is then going to talk a lot about performance of the Cassandra cluster through the AxonOps dashboards, and no doubt deliver lots of little nuggets of gold as well along the way. And then we have this After Dark session. The After Dark session is going to be on AxonOps Workbench, okay? We'll do a little bit of additional Q&A as we go into this, but then we'll flip into this mode. Workbench is a new open source project led by AxonOps. It's a desktop developer DBA tool. There really isn't anything else like this out there for Cassandra. We're also going to release it for Kafka. We're really excited about it. It's completely open source, completely free, and it's available for download now. And Johnny's going to be talking about it in the After Dark session. So, great. So let's just bring this into landing. Great to see so many of you joining. I see quite a lot of people on board right now. If you've just joined, we're just getting started. You've not missed anything because it's me talking. Don't forget the Q&A on your Zoom. Please ask your questions. We're going to dive into these questions as we go through and then cover them off towards the end as well. But now just to introduce you to AxonOps. So I'm going to stop talking any second, but as an introduction to AxonOps, this is where it came from. Frustrated by the lack of effective tooling, the likes of Johnny and others, veteran data platform experts. Can I call you veteran, Johnny? Is that okay?
At this stage, yeah, I'm a veteran.
I've done it now. They built AxonOps, and for those unfamiliar, we unify the monitoring and operations of Cassandra and Kafka clusters via a single pane of glass. Our customers typically combine AxonOps tooling with support for Cassandra and Kafka. And we've got a lot of organizations around the world, multiple industries, use cases using the platform and our support. Johnny, over to you, sir.
All right, let me just share my browser. Where's it gone? There we go. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. So yeah, I'll just give a quick run through of AxonOps, and then we'll dive into it later on. And certainly one of the demos I'm doing is pretty in depth, so you'll see. But essentially, what you've got with, as John said, you get all your logs, your metrics, and all the various operational tools you need. You've got all of your, as you'd expect, we have dashboards, all the logs and events coming in. We have things called service checks and all the operational tooling that things like repairs, backups, etc. And similarly in Kafka, same kind of thing, very similar setup, all your dashboards, cluster overviews, specific things around topics, brokers, all of your access control management, consumers, consumer groups, all the things you need to look after and monitor with your stuff. And then everything can be alerted off and sent off to where you'd like to go. So quick walk through of all the thing, but essentially all of your monitoring, all of your logs, all of your operational stuff, all in one place through AxonOps. Okay, so let me move on to the next slide. Okay, sorry, PowerPoint problems. There we go. Okay, so, and then what we've done lately, we've released a whole bunch of new features that we're rolling them out gradually at the moment. So if you're an AxonOps customer, they won't be deployed into you without you knowing, and we'll work with you on how to do that. But essentially, we got a bunch of pretty cool new features. We've launched support for Apache Kafka, and that's a big deal for us. It gives us a lot of really good, useful tools, all the observability topics, ACLs, etc. We've also done a bit of an improvement on the look and feel, and some extra tweaks and work around how the logs are being streamed in, etc. And support for Paxos repairs, if you're aware of what that is in 4.1. And a cool feature there is we now have the ability with Cassandra to any of those auto snapshots that get taken when you truncate or drop a table. Those snapshots can be imported into the AxonOps backup system and restored through AxonOps as well. So it will detect everything for you. That's quite useful. Okay, so moving on. So the 6 problems I'm going to look at today. Some of them are specific to Cassandra, some of them are specific to Kafka, and some of them are quite the same because you're using AxonOps, whether it's Kafka or Cassandra. So a lot of it's I'll take you through them. We'll do some repairs, metrics and logs, discuss the ACLs. We have a bunch of Ansible playbooks for kind of configuration, which I'll show you as well. And we'll then do a pretty in-depth demo and walkthrough on point and restore, and I'll show you that. And then we'll do some customizing dashboards, and John could take in from there. So I don't know how many webinars I've done where repairs, and it's like every single one, but Cassandra repairs, we all know it's an important thing. Yeah, that quote, I think that was on a Cassandra enhancement proposal, but that's pretty good explanation of repairs. It's repairs and Cassandras are like flossing, essential, but nobody wants to do it. So with AxonOps, we put in some pretty cool features around repairs in Cassandra. And we all know when you're running repairs, the challenge is very much around the managing of those repairs, the scheduling of those repairs, new tables, but also the impact on the performance of your cluster. So we provide this tool called adaptive repairs, which allows you to just turn it on, and it looks at what's happening in the cluster, and it increases the intensity of the repair as it's running. But you can also run traditional repairs as well, and you get all the visibility you need on that. So let me just share my screen again.
Hey Johnny, question for you. Does the adaptive repair adapt the size of the subrange that it's repairing?
It does, yes.
Oh, okay, good.
It does it based on the table size. I'm going to have to apologize again. Zoom is being very strange.
Yeah,
I'm having
the reason why I asked, and since I have a moment here because you're having your Zoom issue, I helped someone recently that was running repairs with Reaper, and the defaults, which you would assume are correct, but in this case they weren't. It was using a super small segment size, but they had kind of a lot of data, and as a result, it was taking, like, the estimate to repair was like 22 years or something. It took a whole bunch of like manual tuning to make it work.
Yeah, and that's kind of what adaptive repairs are trying to do for you, is you just essentially, you go in, turn it on, turn it off, and you don't really have to worry about repairs again, new tables. And then we provide some advanced tuning. So what you're talking about, segment sizes, reducing them, etc. We set some limits. We can set what the target size is. And what we'll often do is we'll look at the amount of data in the table as well, and we'll break them down even smaller, etc. So it's continuously looking at the volumes of the data, the throughput coming in, and it speeds up repairs, slows down repairs, stops repairs, etc. But ultimately, you can still run traditional repairs as you'd like. You can set these up to run immediately with all the necessary things you want to do, all the options, and you can even just set up a cron tab schedule for those repairs as well. So repairs it's one of the most, I think, one of the most popular features we get in people using AxonOps. But 1 second, let me just bring up the slides again, if I can. There we go. Okay, so the other area that everybody looking after clusters needs to do is finding that problem with your metrics and logs. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm sure you have as well, John. Yeah, it's always a challenge. You see a little spike in a metric, and you're trying to find what that is, where that is, what node that's on, and funnel it down to a really fine window, and then correlate that fine window to the logs that's happening, because the logs will be giving you extra information. Why have I get this big spike? The logs will tell me. So we put with AxonOps, with our logs and metrics, we have a really, really fine-grained granularity you can get to. It's a 5-second window, which is very low in comparison to anything out there. And we then, you can see the logs, the metrics, all in one place, dive into them, etc. And all that historical data that you need is in there for later purposes. So let me show you that. Any questions, John, while I'm doing that?
No, everyone's stunned into silence right now.
Can you see the?
They're absorbing what you're saying.
So you go into the dashboards as an example. It's got that's the old one, thread pools. That's usually what I'm looking at. And then we can go. Let's go set a window of say 12 hours, and then you can see, like, here's a great example of a spike in right now. Let's select all the thread pools. There's all the thread pools there, and you can see, oh look, there's a big spike. So let's zoom in there, and zoom in a bit more. Oh, zoom back out. Sorry, apologies. There we go. Oh dear, demos. All right, let's go into a different one. There you go, and you can zoom in all the way in through the things, and at the same time, the logs are coming up here. Underneath. Oh gosh, there you go. All your logs are in there, coming in, and you can zoom into them. Let's put a bigger window so you can see. It might be easier. So you get all the logs corresponding to the windows, and they can all come in, stream live. You can click on those logs. You can see what's in them, copy them around, etc. But essentially, everything's in there, zooming in one place, and you have this stream of the logs coming in. The live logs is all happening as well, and that's pretty useful. So
now, Johnny, I've been on a lot of demos, and I always get, I wouldn't say a gasp, that's a bit over the top, but people are always impressed with that. Now, you can do this with the likes of Grafana, but there's a bit of effort to do that, yeah?
For sure, yeah. I mean, there's correlating logs and metrics, you can do, but the challenge is doing it. And we often find you're adopting Cassandra, you're adopting Kafka, and then you have to put in a whole bunch of other tech as well. And keeping it like this for me works because it's all in one place. I don't have to be updating multiple things.
Yeah.
Thing.
We like to often say, don't we, that don't spend as much time managing your tools as you do your data platform.
Totally. Yeah. That's the best way of saying it. Yeah. Okay, and then another problem we get, problem people have is what we've looked at addressing with AxonOps is the management of your Kafka topic access control list. So essentially,
are you going to share this slide, Johnny?
Oh God.
I know it's a little bit hard. You're going back from one to the other.
Yeah, no, it's
important data on there as well.
it's Zoom, to be honest. I think
there
is issues.
There you go. Perfect.
Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, managing your Kafka topic ACLs, everybody has to do this. And the amount of places I go to where they don't do this, yeah, you have full-on access to all of your topics. You can do whatever you like, or the granularity of those permissions aren't sufficient or safe. So we've seen this quite a few places, and it was one of the first things that we figured we'd look to address on the Kafka side was managing these ACLs. So if I show you that.
Just while you're doing that, we've had a question.
Yeah.
How do our tools for Cassandra and Kafka complement each other for organizations implementing Grafana as we host the resource in AWS cloud and also getting metrics from CloudWatch?
So yeah, good question. So one of the things in AxonOps is you can expose all of your AxonOps data as a Prometheus compatible endpoint. So essentially you can take your Grafana, mount your AxonOps as a Prometheus data source, and then you can use it. We support PromQL as the language. So if people are familiar with it, it allows you to pull that data into your Grafana dashboards. That's the approach we'd suggest for that.
Okay. And I've got a thought on that, but I'll hold that for a second, maybe for later. I'll just hold off the next question. I'm gonna until you're ready.
Okay. Let's do that again. Sorry.
So, but let me throw this question out there. Sama, thank you. I know AxonOps metrics dashboards are amazing. Thank you, Sama. I am wondering, how do you extract Cassandra metrics, JMX, custom Java plugins without JMX? Do you read directly from Drop Wizard? I guess someone's wondering, what is the underlying sort of transport layer metrics collector?
Okay, yeah, we can go into that if you like. Basically, we don't use JMX because JMX is not a nice protocol. What we have is we've developed a system whereby we have a Java agent attached to the Cassandra process, and that's how we communicate with it, essentially through sockets, if you will. So it's very efficient. It doesn't. The reason we did that was we were working with very, very sensitive clusters, and what we were finding was that JMX hammer that came in with the Prometheus push would just kill your P99s, and it was absolutely the case. So it was causing us problems. So we took this approach on the architecture where essentially the metrics are coming in. We don't hit hard. We have some very smart things around compression and what the data is, and possibly a webinar for another time.
Yeah. We've got a whole blog on that as well, haven't we, Johnny? But anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah. So going back to the ACLs. So when you're creating a topic, you should be defining what the type of permissions to the users you want to present on there. So, for example, I pick a topic, give it a name, a host. Let's say John, me, okay, and then I can give it the necessary ACL permissions I wanted to do. And also to point out, yes, there's a GUI for this, but this is all automatable. So all of the configuration management that I'll point you as well. We will be supporting you managing all that through straight up configuration management as well. But yeah, so it's pretty useful. And also we audit when the ACLs are being created or edited or etc. So that was the other problem we found, was the auditing when we just going in through command line editing stuff, we were losing those kind of audits. So we like to use this, and we recommend our customers to use this because they get a very nice audit trail of all of the which user did what, changed the ACLs, and that was quite handy for people as well. So that's the ACLs. Let me get back into how are we for time, John?
Doing okay.
So, okay. So the other problem I think people probably don't appreciate it with Cassandra is it's essentially point in time restore and commit log archival. So Cassandra has two ways you can back up your data. You have this thing called a snapshot, which is basically a snapshot of the data at that specific time that snapshot was run. But if you want to point in time restore, you need to be using the Cassandra commit logs to play back to give you, say, I want to restore to say 1:15 as opposed to 1 o'clock. And that has been notoriously complicated to get working in Cassandra. So we've put a lot of work in. We've got a really easy way for you to do your commit log archival, setting it all up, copying those segments off server, and then a nice easy wizard when you have to restore. So let me, without further ado, this is a demo. Let me just get it up.
While you're doing that, let me dive into Dimitri's question. He's asking what the granularity of the metrics is. Yes, it is out of the box 5-second granularity with limited overhead. That was partly the answer Johnny gave earlier. We have our own proprietary collector transport layer. We can do 5-second metrics with a reasonable retention policy and very little impact on resource. This I can't answer. Do you support some kind of continuous profiling for Cassandra as a Java process and correlating the profile with metrics logs time window? Does that make sense, Johnny?
It didn't actually. Could you say that again?
Do you support some kind of continuous profiling for Cassandra as a Java process and correlating the profile with the metrics logs time window?
Yeah, so I mean, we capture all of the JVM metrics, so you've certainly got all of the what's exposed to around GCs and stuff like that. But we're not doing memory dumps, memory profiles, or anything like that. It's just capturing the performance metrics of the JVM. Is that what is it? Does that answer his question?
I think he's referring to like profiling, like with async profiler or with like Pyroscope.
Yeah. Okay. So frame graph, like async profile, just like you said.
Yeah. No, flame graphs are definitely on the list. We're discussing that, but no, we don't have that.
I just nick John's flame graph. Okay. Are there plans to support cluster upgrades via AxonOps? Yes, watch this space. As we are IAC, all our dashboards and monitoring tools do these tools more friendly with infrastructure as a code, Ansible and other pipelines. So yeah, I mean, with all APIs available.
So, on that note, so specifically one of the sections.
Yeah, exactly, you've got a whole session on that. Thank you. Carry on, Johnny.
Okay, so I've recorded this demo because I'm using this cluster in the thing, but essentially we connect up to the cluster. And you can see here, I've got, this is Workbench connecting up, looking at the table. So I have this table events from Kafka, and you can see what that table is. It's pretty simple. It's just 2 columns, primary key, and a description. And then this is the CQL console for Workbench. We'll do a select from that table so you can see what's in it. And I'm limiting it because there's a lot. And there's the rows of data coming back. And then, and you can see all the various other things you can do through Workbench. You can truncate, and then now I'll truncate the table. We give you some helpful hints when we truncate. So now the table should be empty, and we'll do what I'll do is I'll run some more data in through Kafka, and we can see how that runs through. So the table's been truncated. Now we'll go into the, this is a little script that's just going to run some messages through Kafka. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have our Kafka cluster with AxonOps, our Cassandra cluster with AxonOps, and then we have Kafka Connect deployed between them. So here's the AxonOps Kafka cluster. And you can see there, you can toggle between the different clusters types while you're interacting with them. And then you should see some metrics now. And there, yeah, so here's the consumer group. So this is the Kafka Connect syncing to Cassandra, and you can see, what its state in there as well. And then we'll pop back into a dashboard and have a look at, you can see the messages coming through. So there's the various, you can see all the necessary stuff there, but down there, you see all the incoming messages coming in that I've fired through. And there's all the logs coming in through as well. And then you'll see, have a look in Cassandra, and you'll see the Cassandra table that where it's coming in, the data coming in as well. And you can see that there's the writes coming in through Kafka, through Kafka Connect into Cassandra. And we got this nice feature, by the way, Shift G, if you want to see a list of the metrics, because it's really difficult when you're on those. Nice little feature. And then you can see just zooming in, have a little look at the Cassandra logs. You can see all the associated logs for everything as you're zooming in to find what's happening as well. So what we'll do now is I think yeah. Okay. Just checking some things. And now what we'll do is we'll kill the Kafka writer, just to see the new data coming in. So that's the new data that we've just written in through Kafka and Kafka Connect into Cassandra. And then what we'll do is I'm just going to kill that job pumping in the messages. It's not elegant. Apologies. Yeah, kill -9. Yeah, you know. But there we go. And now we're going to do the point in time restore. So we go into Cassandra, make sure we're in the right place. See the Kafka messages, everything no longer coming. They're all tailing off now, etc. So now we're going to go in and do the actual point in time restore. So go into Cassandra, and then there's the you can just check in some. You can see the metrics there. So we go in operations, and then you've gone to the restore. And then you simply put, you choose point in time restore there. And just give it a sec while it refreshes. So what we have here is a UI that allows you to pick the time you want to restore to. So those little camera icons represent snapshots. And then you're selecting the table you want to restore. Yeah, you can select them all if you wanted to. And then you have to pick the time you want to get to restore. And then you see what we do is we try to find a snapshot, and then we'll play the commit logs that represent after that snapshot, and that's what the cameras are for. You don't have to have a snapshot, and you don't even have to have the snapshot on all nodes, etc., etc. But if it knows there's a snapshot with the data and it's not necessary to replay the commit logs, it will take the snapshot and append the commit log data to it. So it's a lot more efficient. So once it picks the time, we take you through the wizard. Yeah, it's picking a time there. Is that still playing? Yes, there you go. Now we are going to give you some options. You have to have a little look to see, just check things, yeah, and make sure, because you're doing something serious here, yeah. So we see the table we're restoring. We can see this metadata around the commit logs. You can see the snapshot that we found that we're going to use for events for that table, events for Kafka. But it isn't, you should have a little look, make sure everything is kind of in a good place. And then it comes out there. And then what you have to do with point in time restore, we take you through all of the steps that you're meant to do. So the first thing you need to do is you need to truncate the existing tables, stop Cassandra, and then do that. So we're going to truncate this table now and get the that data out again. And let's have a little look, see if it's gone. Yeah, it's gone. And then next thing to do is we're going to stop Cassandra on all the nodes. This is the process for Apache Cassandra. Are you using concurrent shell here to stop Cassandra? Please be really careful if you ever use concurrent shell. The amount of incidents and issues I found where people don't realize they're broadcasting to multiple screens. So
I once did that and RF'd all the production data directories.
Oh,
yeah. While I was trying to do an upgrade.
Oh dear. Yeah. But just for the sake of the demo, I'm stopping. And I also recommend always do a little check if you can for the Java process when you stop Cassandra. I have found on many occasions it hangs around. And then the other, obviously the user is set up correctly. And then we have to go into the existing commit log directories and just remove those old commit logs. So go in and do that. You can see it shouldn't be anything in there really, but there you go. RM commit log. can see they're all gone. And everything is Kafka writer isn't running. So then we make sure that now what we do is we do a couple of checks again, because we've got to be thorough with this stuff. We've checked the following. You can go in again, look at the details, be very sure you're doing what you want to do. And then we do a little check to check is the cluster in the right state. So in this case, it is. Success, click next, and then click start the restore process, and then wait. And it does it all for you. And it hopefully won't take too long because it's on the video, but yeah, it goes through.
And this is one of the things with Cassandra that's very hard to do, isn't it?
Sorry, John. So the restore is done now. And what we can do is we've got to start Cassandra back up. Yeah, nothing in there, don't we?
Johnny, you should have your hands below the screen so it looks like you're doing the typing.
I'm typing with my brain.
I think doing a screen record for this one. And by the way, he did only prepare this.
There are data files and such in there as well. Though I don't think it's flushed yet, but there you go. And then all done. Final step 6 is completing. There you go. And then the point in time restore is done. And then we can do some, go in, have a little look at the data. You can see the cluster's all up. That one in the orange in the corner there is still running. And then we can go have a look at the, yeah, oh, but you will have to disconnect and reconnect there. So I reconnect up, and then you can have a little look at the data coming back. And it should be the old data. There you go. Point in time restore.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And this is hard. This is hard. That's what I was saying, Johnny. This is something that is hard to do. And we spent a long time. This has been a long time coming, this capability in AxonOps. And it really does simplify the whole process, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, John, John, we've got John, and Johnny.
I know. I should have made a joke about that at the start. You know.
John, I mean, you've done point in time restores. I mean, it's complex to set it up.
It's tedious. And tedious things are often done incorrectly.
Or not at all.
And so, or not at all. And so the real headache with this is most people aren't writing this in advance. And so if you do need to do commit log restore, then it becomes a manual process, and now you're on multiple nodes. So you either need to like build out all the workflow ahead of time with this in mind, which I've never seen really anybody do. Like it's really not common. So yeah, this ends up being a headache just as the nature of it being something that you don't want to do. It's always the lowest priority, and then you need it and you're like, great, like this
for a database is, you know, point in time restore is one of those necessary things. But yeah.
Okay. Just probably need to get a little bit of a move on now. We're okay. Just as you're moving to the next slide, just a couple of simple questions. Can we use these tools to get metrics from more than one Kafka and Cassandra instance in multiple regions?
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So the answer is yes, no caveats.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Very easy. No problem. And I'll hang fire on the other couple whilst you go through this.
So other problem, I think somebody already mentioned it.
Yes.
One of the questions is around configuration management, automation. Yeah. I mean, clicking through GUIs to configure systems is like writing a novel with crayons, painful and error prone. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like my GUI, it's great, but if I have to go in and configure like 40, 50 alerts, customize my dashboards, 10 clusters, I want this in configuration management. I don't want to be going in, clicking around, because it's dangerous. And I think we all know automation should be done. So the cool thing is, with AxonOps, everything is exposed through APIs, and we've developed a pretty comprehensive set of Ansible playbooks to allow you to go in and create all your alerts, your dashboards, your backups, your repairs, absolutely everything you want to do. And that's cool because you can then version control that, check it into your Git, and you can reuse it again and again, and it gets it consistent. So I'll just briefly show you this. one. Let me share my browser again. Okay. All right. Can you see my browser? So yeah, if you go to our GitHub, you'll see this project, and there's a QR code on thing. And in this one here, this is all of the Ansible stuff. Everything you need to through Ansible. And we're you know, and if anybody wants, we're possibly going to do a chef one as well at some point. But it should be quite easy to extend to other languages. But it's a useful way of looking after your configuration. And we also, if you look under there as well, there's some more projects in there too, because you can self-host AxonOps, or you can connect up to our SaaS. So there's projects in there for Helm charts, composes, Ansible playbooks to install AxonOps on your environments. Exactly one. If you look under the Ansible collection one here as well, this will allow you to kind of self-install everything in there as well. So all the automation I think you can need is there. Yeah. Great. Any questions on any of
that? No.
John, what's your favorite one?
I do have a couple of questions here, but I'm going to save them until we get to the towards the end.
Okay. So
to get through the last final bits. Okay.
So you saw the AxonOps kind of dashboards, everything in there as well. Now, what we do with AxonOps is we have a canned set of dashboards that get installed by default when you set up your AxonOps. But you know, dashboards are, you want your own dashboards. You have the specific things that you would want to do. Great quote, pre-built dashboards are like off-the-rack suits. They fit most people, but nobody perfectly. So it's important that we provide you with that ability to do that. So they're all the dashboards completely customizable for Kafka and Cassandra, and also you can share these around and all that kind of stuff. And we have the ability to import dashboards as well. So, for example, what John's going to share, but also even in the Ansible playbook I showed you, you can define your dashboards in there and deploy them as well. So let me show you a bit on the dashboard customization.
And this runs neatly into Mr. Haddad. Yeah.
Any questions?
No, I'll let you know.
Alrighty. All right. So let's go back into, let's have a look at, I'm sorry, that Zoom thing is in the way. Okay. Let's go back into, say, Cassandra. So, for example, let's have a look at, say, system. Let's put in a CPU usage. Right here. So every dashboard all the widgets, the graphs and the dashboards, you can go in and define whatever you like in there for these. Now, we decided to adopt PromQL as the language for expressing dashboards and alerts and such. So it should be relatively familiar to you in terms of syntax. I mean, it's not Prometheus under the hood, but it's a very good language for expressing these things, and it's made for this. So we decided to adopt that as the way of doing it. So you can see it's pretty obvious when you're setting up your dashboards. You can names. There's your prom query in there. Similarly with alerts, you want to add alerts. The definition of the alert is prom as well, and we give you a wizard to select the appropriate values for that metric, so you don't have to actually write it. But you can also, again, all of these alerts you can take out into your own dashboards. You can create dashboards, give it a name. Let's create that. And then once you're in there, you add rows. Something going on there. Add row. And it's a minimum amount of text. And then once you're in there, you can go in and, there. You add panels in there, and you can go in, choose visualizations, whether it's a metrics, an events, a bar chart, etc. You can get, again, define alerts, everything like that you'd want to do for those customizing of the alerts. So although pre-canned for Kafka and Cassandra, you can still go in and do your own. however you'd like to do it. So let me just get back into this guy here.
Exactly what John has done. Yes, John, you've had a good play with this.
Yeah, so probably a good segue into.
Yeah. Let me just throw a question that came from that section. Thank you, Harvey. Are alert definitions exportable so I could store them in source control and importable?
Well, yes, you can export that whole dashboard that you see there. Everything there is exportable, including your alerts, as a JSON thing.
Yeah.
I'd probably suggest you use the Ansible to push your. So I would suggest use the Ansible project, create your dashboards, bring them into Ansible, and then you can use that to deploy those dashboards wherever you like, however you'd like. It's all in the playbook.
And then just slightly relevant, but of course we have integrations with all the common platforms as well from our alerts. So it fully integrates with pretty well most of what you might be using. Yeah.
ServiceNow, OpsGenie, well, for now, Slack, PagerDuty, webhook, email, everything.
Fantastic. Right. I think we need to move on to Mr. Haddad.
Woo!
Over to you, sir.
Here we are.
Could you put up the slide? Because I took some time on that. I found an image. Put the slide up. Let's at least.
Oh, we got it?
Have a John. Well, considering my Zoom experience at the moment.
Yeah, we need to.
There you go.
Okay. There we go.
There we go.
Most people on here probably know which dashboards those are. John, show us yours.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. I'm excited to share this. So for a little bit of background, I spent several years as a consultant working at the Last Pickle, and for the last 2 years, I've been doing it on my own. I have this kind of desire to really understand what goes on in a Cassandra cluster. So I built out this whole set of tooling called Easy Cas Lab that you can use to fire up a cluster of any version. And it takes about 5 minutes. Like I actually got it. I think I started at 8:15 and it was ready to go at like 8:10. But because I needed I needed dashboards, like I would run my load tests and I would break things. Because AxonOps, you can use it up to 6 nodes for free. It was kind of a no-brainer. So for me to integrate this into the tooling. So you create a cluster, you automatically get your dashboards in AxonOps. And so as a committer and as like doing investigations for clients, it's helped me both validate patches that we've written. Jordan West and I recently collaborated on a really good patch to improve compaction throughput. Dimitri, who asked a question earlier, also collaborated on that and helped out with the review and has been running the patch in production and is recently a committer. So welcome, Dimitri. Anyway, long story short, I have a very, very specific kind of way that I want to look at the information in my dashboards. So I built my own and then made them part of the project as well. So I'm just going to show that real quick. I'll share my screen. I will try not to take up too much time. So what I have here, what you can see is this is a load test that's running on the cluster. So like I said, I set up the cluster before we got started today. It's doing about 50,000 requests a second. And this is on the bottom here. This is the data directory that gets created when you provision a cluster with Easy Cas Lab. So one of the first things that you see here is AxonOps dashboards. So I didn't just put that there. This just comes with the project. So whenever you create a cluster, this dashboard will be there because I like my dashboards. So let me just go over to the other screen. Let's see. Here we go. Allow. Come on. Here we go. Can we see this?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. So this is the dashboard that it comes with. So if you wanted to, you could go over here. You can see that I just click on import. I go to settings, dashboards, import, bring this in. Yes, confirm, good to go. And now we actually have my dashboards already in here. The big one that I wanted to do was really have a kind of different view of a different overview. I wanted to be able to see as data in a specific way so that I could quickly get to the bottom of performance issues. And that means that I'm starting a lot of the times with system metrics, trying to understand things at a high level and then drill down. So it's really, really easy here. You just pick key space and the table. And then, we start with the system metrics. So I can see that, hey, what do you know? I have this like weird outlier. Like, why is one node at 45% CPU and the others are at 23%? Like, that's the first. And if you're going to do a performance investigation, the first thing is, why is one node performing differently than the other node? So it tells me that I should go and take a look at this and figure out what's going on over here, because that's not right. It tells me what my IOPS look like. We go down here to availability, and I have different things for reads and writes per second. Again, high level information. I'm looking for signals that tell me to look in one direction or another. The investigation is always about just collecting a bunch of data, making observations, building a mental model, and then figuring out what you're going to do next. So what's really, really great about this is it's helped. Like I said, there's been several patches that I've worked on in the core project where I've done performance analysis. I use this tool like every day to help my clients out. And it's built to solve these types of problems. And the AxonOps side of things, there was a question before about performance overhead of the metrics collector itself. Even when it's collecting every 5 seconds, I was seeing 1 to 2% of CPU time was actually spent in AxonOps. When I tried it with DataStax MCAC, it was 30% of the CPU time. It was a ridiculous difference. So it's been a huge help. And if you look at some of the JIRAs that I've worked on, you can see the screenshots directly out of here, because it was a huge help for me.
On that note, on the performance thing, we did a pretty good independent study benchmarking all of them. We've got a really good blog on the website that really does show you the difference in performance.
Yeah, Joaquin did a really nice job on that. I remember when that came out, and I looked through it, and I was like, this is very consistent with what I've seen. The way that you guys tap into the underlying metrics and export them, the efficiency difference it's grotesque. Like, people, whenever I talk about performance and optimizations, people think I'm talking about 1% of a difference. This is like a 20x difference. Like, this is a massive deal. It's such a it's amazing to be able to have 5-second resolution. Like, when I was at Netflix, we didn't have 5-second resolution. I think we had 20 or 30 seconds. So a lot can happen in 30 seconds, and you end up missing events like you were talking about with the logs.
Yeah.
It's like, you can drill down to that 5-second window. You can learn a ton, and it's so hard to go back in time when you only have 2 data samples per minute. Like, that is a ridiculous way to try and solve problems. It's incredibly frustrating.
The funny one on that is when you've got like an enormous cluster and you've got a 30-second window, and you're going through, say, 300 nodes of 30-second windows of logs trying to find something. It just gets worse and worse as you scale.
It's absolutely brutal. And then one thing I wanted to touch on before, but I just remembered, the logs and the metrics together. When I first started using this, it was one of those things that it's like, yes, everything should work this way. This is like it. In fact, it was I was so happy with it that it's in my training. Like, in my Cassandra training, I'm like, look, if you're gonna build this stuff yourself, like, you need to make sure you can correlate your metrics and logs like this. And this is literally used as the reference. It's like, these guys did it right. And you just don't see anybody ever do that. Usually it's like a completely separate logging system, and so your brain doesn't think to look at it unless you've like trained yourself to. Having it integrated all in one is just nice, because it's just obvious that you should look at it because it's staring you in the face. Anyway, sorry, I'll stop my rant about how much I like the logging, integrated logging.
No, that's great, John. We've really enjoyed working with you. You've given us a lot of good input as well, and we're going to be incorporating some of your concepts of your dashboards into our standard stock dashboards that come with the platform. So look out for that. Did you have any other aspects you wanted to cover at this stage?
I don't think so. I think I got everything.
Thank you very much. I'm just conscious of the time. I just want to say as well that if there is I've got the QR code on the next slide. If you want to bring that slide up, Johnny. That you did a session with Jordan West a couple ago, didn't you? A couple of masterclasses ago, really into this stuff in a lot more detail. So I'd encourage everybody to go to the events page of the on-demand there. You see it on the right, that QR code. Go to there and you can check that out where John goes in a lot more detail. I just want to kick off with one final question to answer before we go into the after dark and before I cover this. It's a contentious one and I want to answer it. So somebody has said, here's the hard question. As DataStax has been acquired, how is your plan to make these tools to be a household name and used by high-profile clients? What a great question. So we're not very big. I'm not going to suggest we're huge, but I will say that we can't publicize them. We have a number of large global clients already using the tool, so I do want to make that clear. We have clusters under management within the AxonOps tooling of, approaching 4 figures of nodes. We have clusters as large as 200 in a single cluster being managed through AxonOps, and these are very well-known names in the market. So in terms of the DataStax acquisition, we applaud IBM making an investment, and we like to think that the Cassandra project is in good hands there. But of course, AxonOps is not just about Cassandra. We're about open source data platforms. We've already released Kafka. We want to unify not just all the Cassandra monitoring and operations tool. We want to unify multiple data platforms. We are confident that our platform and our product is ready for, as you say, this anonymous attendee, household names, because we're already supporting them. And we certainly are committed to continuing to grow our market presence. So with that, thank you very much. We've been answering quite a few questions already. We hope you found this useful and helpful. We've sort of, it's been a little bit of tip of the iceberg. We've tried to put some depth into some real world problems. We're going to be doing multiple masterclasses like this. You can go get a free account for AxonOps. It's not a trial. It's the product. It's got 95% of the features in the product, everything you've seen today, except for the commit log archiving, but everything else is in there. So you can go use that product today, and it's free. We're going to talk about Workbench in a moment. That's where you can go get it. John is contactable through that link there. You can always get AxonOps on for a conversation through our Book an Expert clinic. We're always ready and happy to have a conversation with you. You can book that through there. And as I said earlier, here are the events, the previous recorded masterclass events. We're having a little break until the next masterclass because of spring break, etc. The next one's going to be on the 29th of May. So please, mark your calendar for that. We're actually going to go out over the next 2 or 3 weeks to the community, and we are going to ask the community what the topic should be. We're going to try and get a sense of what we need to do next and what we should cover. And we will be getting a communication of that out probably in about 3 weeks. So look out for that. So with that, with 3 minutes to go, I just want to first of all turn to Johnny. Do you have any final comments about what you've just been talking about before we get into the after dark?
Is that John? Which
Johnny? I said Johnny.
Yeah, no,
Johnny, too many names.
I should use my second now. Yeah, no, it's
Miller, have you got anything to say?
No, yeah, no, it's I'm looking forward to the next masterclass as well. I'm interested to see what the topics are going to be chose. Before we move on, there's a couple of questions I answered in the chat already. I'll just go through them. One of the questions was around automating those prepare steps, and that's a good question, because we're kind of torn a little, because the level of permissions you need to perform the commit log restore are quite high. I mean, you're deleting stuff, you're stopping things, you need quite elevated permissions to do that. So it's a tricky one. Yes, we could automate it, but I'm not sure we want to automate it. We are thinking about it, but we have to have we're kind of limited by what Cassandra makes you do. And essentially, for all intents and purposes, you need root for it, which is not ideal. And Another one was a good question on estimating the restore time for the commit log archival. Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, actually. I'm going to bring that up with the team. A lot of agreements on backup and restores with Cassandra being really tricky. And yeah, that was the questions.
Yeah, I think that probably covers the questions right now. We're gonna move into any more questions beyond the top of the hour. But John, do you have any final comments on your side?
Oh God. Let's see. Oh, on the free thing. So if you do want to try out AxonOps, but you're saying, hey, like I don't want to set up a cluster, I don't want to deal with a headache, look at EasyCast Lab. I literally designed this to be able to just build sandboxes and break them. And it's used in my Cassandra training. And like I said, I've been using it for consulting for a while, and I use it for contributing patches to Cassandra and vetting the performance aspect of everything. And all that you need is that API key when you set up EasyCast Lab, and it handles everything else for you. Like it literally just does the setup. So if you want to get going in like less than half an hour, it's the way to go.
Fantastic. And there's John's contact details. So look, we're at the top of the hour. We are moving on to the after dark. We've got a lot of people still on. I think they're interested in hearing about Workbench, and we'll answer any other question in that period as well. So John, if you want to move on to the next slide of Workbench.
Okay.
Hour and after dark. Okay. Thanks everybody. I hope we'll have a bunch of people stay on because this is absolutely fascinating. This project, of course, I would say that. Over to you, Johnny. What the hell is Workbench? Why should I get?
One second. I'm sorry. I gotta go, everyone.
No worries, John. We're covering Workbench.
Thank you very much for having me. I had a really good time, and I'll see everyone soon.
Cool.
All right. Johnny.
Bye.
Workbench. Thanks, John.
Yeah. Thanks, John. So Workbench. So basically, we built Workbench to improve the developer and DBA experience with Cassandra. It's kind of been a pet project for a while. There's always been this really lacking of just standard kind of tooling to just connect up to Cassandra, query it, do all those kind of stuff. Most of the tools out there were not built for Cassandra. They were adapted from putting in a JDBC shim or everything, and all of the features in the UX and everything in there, they just don't encompass what Cassandra does. So we decided to build it. So it's a completely free, Apache licensed, open source desktop application. We're building out distributions for Windows, Mac, and Linux. I will say it's an early release at the moment, but there's plenty more features to come. And if you want to check it out, you can go to axonops.com Workbench, and you can also check out the project on GitHub as well. So why don't I start it up? Okay. Any questions while I'm starting things up?
I can't see any questions. Hold on. No, just a nice statement. Thank you to all three Johns.
Let me share it. Okay. Gonna have to apologies and share my desktop again. Oh, sorry, everyone. Give me a second, please. Okay.
It's okay. We still have quite a few people on. Johnny, no pressure.
Yeah, I'm just going to move it onto a smaller monitor because you won't see it if I share my desktop. I've got a huge monitor. Okay, there we go. All right. So, can everybody see that?
Yes, we can
Awesome.
see it.
So, when you install AxonOps Workbench, we have this concept of workspaces. Yeah, and what a workspace is, it's essentially where you group all of your different connections to different clusters. So you can imagine having a prod workspace, a stage, a test, a dev, etc., or different clusters, etc. And really, the goal with this concept was essentially all of the configuration for the workspace can be checked in to version control. So we don't allow you to store any passwords or anything in any of the configuration. All of the sensitive information gets encrypted and stored in the keychain on the OS. So the entire workspace setup can be checked into Git, shared between your teams. Because one of the other pet peeves I had was every time I have a new laptop or whatever, I'm there scraping around wikis and everything, asking, I can't remember where everything is. So I wanted to get it in a way that I could have all of my stuff checked into Git. I can share it with teams. New guy comes along, he checks it out, away you go. But then once you create your workspace, you create a connection. In the connections, you give all the relevant stuff you'd expect to do, authentication details. And we also support SSH tunneling directly from the app. So what that means is if your cluster is sitting behind, the only access is through SSH, essentially it will open up an SSH tunnel to the target cluster and then connect over that SSH tunnel to your Cassandra cluster. And this is a fairly common approach. Various tools do this as well, but we put it in there for as well. And again, all of the SSL configuration that you would want to have for your connection, you set that all up. And nicely, as you can see there, I'll give you a nice GUI, but you also have all the traditional SQL HRC. So the other goal of the tool wasn't to, I use SQL. I like SQL. So actually we have SQL embedded in the app, and it's a combination of the app communicating with SQL within there. So we're able to so it should be familiar to everyone. So yeah, you have a SQL HRC file. Again, that can be checked in. If you put the username and password in that SQL HRC file, we will not even read it, because we won't. That's what we removed from it. So we won't take it, and we've added some extra things in there. But the configuration is all like that. And then you connect up to a cluster. So this is the cluster I was showing you there during the webinar. And is there any, actually, before I move on, any questions there on that come in?
Not yet, no.
All right, so you connect up, and I mean, this should be a fairly familiar UX to everyone. It's got you got your tree of all your key spaces and tables there, and then we have the SQL console and various other tools from the app there. So I think you've seen a select. So if I go in and do a select, yeah, you see what comes back there. So we've built this enhanced kind of notebook kind of console. So once your results come back, you can do things like search within the results for things coming back. You can take those results, you can export them to CSV or PDF. If you have, let's do this. Let's turn on tracing. Tracing on. Okay. And then let's do consistency. Let's go something heavy, quorum, because it's 2 DCs. And then let's do that select again. Okay. And because we've enabled tracing now we get the query trace back. And when we go into the query trace, we present you with a nice graphical representation of the query trace with all of the relevant details on there. We've enhanced the trace slightly here because the trace doesn't come back with the data center. So we augment the trace with all the extra. And again, you can search through things. You can zoom in on particular nodes. You can filter the results. You can search in for any specific step you might want to find in there. And this will also, we're building it's still experimental, but we're building an AI that will also analyze the trace for you and give you an actual human readable, what does this mean? Because let's be honest, when you look at traces, there's a lot of stuff in there to figure out. So that's the query traces. Other things in the tool, we have this ability to do what we called a schema diff. I'm going to have to pull this over onto a bigger display because you're not going to see this. Apologies. I'm going to have to stop my share. Sorry, that display is too small. Yes, there you go. Okay. Can you see? Is that seeable? Can you see that?
Yeah, I think they'll get the concept, Johnny. Yeah.
But you can see the screen I'm sharing, yeah?
Yes, see the screen. Quite small the text, but I think what you're going to demo is going to make sense.
So so another pet peeve of mine is people making changes without telling me to the database, yeah? Or the usual thing, oh no, I didn't change that. Well, hold on, it's changed, what changed, when it changed, etc., etc. So we've introduced a schema diff tool. And what that does is we take your schema and we convert it to JSON, and then we allow you to perform a diff on it. Right now, it's just a JSON. It's going to look better with GUI and things like that. But question might be, why am I converting this to JSON? So what we found was if you just take the CQL, it wasn't really deterministic, the order of things that would be coming back. So you would find maybe you have a cluster A and a cluster B, and they might be on different versions, or one might be have created whatever. And the same table might come back not necessarily looking the same, even just in ordering of things. So that's why we chose to convert it to JSON. And again, what we do here is you can save this as a snapshot and say, give it a, and that schema, that JSON, that gets saved in your workspace. So again, you can check that JSON into your Git, and then okay, that's the version of the database I know I have. So if I go in then and let's go in and let's create key space. Why don't we do that? Let's do create key space, and let's say call it test. You can see by anyway, so I'll give it a replication factor of 3 in there. Durable rights. And we also, when you're doing this right-click stuff in Workbench, our goal is not to hide the CQL from you. We want you to understand the CQL, what's being in there. So all of the right-click kind of CQL-y things, even though it's a GUI, you can switch and see the CQL that's being generated. And then if you're happy with it, you just execute that statement. That's got executed. And then we have, there you go, refreshing. Cool. There you go. There's that key space I just created. So again, then, if I go in and do the diff, you'll see the changes well, actually, hold on, refresh that. Anyways, I think it might be. Anyways, you see the changes in there. We've been lately.
Do you mind if I just quickly dive in with a question? Because if someone doesn't have this, how would someone do that? You didn't have Workbench, what would they do to try and get the insights you just got?
It would be, I think, tricky. I mean, you can connect up through various plugins and things like that, but they're not. What I found was they're either something made for connecting to an SQL database, and then Cassandra just kind of connects in there, or there's a whole bunch of features in Cassandra that just aren't in there. So right. It's also it really just comes down to the way Cassandra works versus a relational database. And these tools are made for often two different things. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of them will work. They might be okay for people, but the goal of this is to get every single feature aspect into Cassandra in there, connecting like it's Cassandra. Yeah, so again, I was talking about right clicks. We have right now we're right clicking features out as quickly as we can. We've gone through pretty much things. So I can go say if you want to create a UDT, you can create a UDT, give it a field. Again, you can see the definition, execute that statement. And then I can go in there and say, let's create a counter table as an example. So we have a specific workflow for counter tables versus things. You can give those values. And you've got, let's create a table. Let's call it BBB. Give it some partition keys. You give it a clustering key, and you can give it some columns. And let's give it that UDT type that we just done. And then we have it and what you can see here is all of the options that you need to know about creating a table. You can define the clustering, change the clustering orders, make columns static, make things frozen. You have a comment. I put that in there because I like people putting comments. And then again, you go in, you see the CQL generate, and again, and then you execute that. And there you go. There's the table created. And what else we've got in here? So, and then you go to that table, you can insert a row, and we support you inserting row or inserting row as JSON. Not many people seem to know you can insert as JSON. So if I do this, 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 and this, and again, I'm inserting the data, I can define all of the different options that these are specific to Cassandra. I can give it say it's a TTL, so give it seven, actually, let's give it 7 months. If you want to, one of the things you can do with Cassandra is specify the write time as well. So if you want, you can choose the write time. There's a thing in Cassandra around inserts where it's null, if it's not null, and you can define how you want that to behave on the insert. And then essentially, sorry, I'm going to put that in there. And then there's the values. And if you see the CQL, so there we go, we have an insert as JSON statement generated, execute that. And then if I haven't done the select right click, which is there you go. And if you still, and the flip side is, what I've also done is, we also support CQSH. So you can toggle between the advanced terminal, or if you like the CQSH, you can go in and go select star SSS. There you go. You get CQSH as well. But there's more. Again, other right clicks, you can get the CQL descriptions, save it as a file, display it in the work area, and we'll pull out all the CQL descriptions for you. And what else do we have? And you can see the plan here, yeah? Once you look at the table, so if you actually look at the table tree, we've also done the work to explain all the different aspects of the table. So we say, okay, these are your primary key columns, and you can see the clustering column, the ordering there. These are your partition keys. These are your clustering columns. These are all of your columns. These are the compaction settings for that table and all of the various other options you can define on tables. And we're going to continue to do that. And if there's indexes associated with the table, you'll see the indexes, the views, triggers. We haven't implemented yet, but all of these types are in there. And then there's that UDT. Again, we'll also be supporting user-defined functions, user-defined aggregates. All of those things you want to do, we're going to have that right-click kind of wizard design for it. So any questions before I move on?
Yes, we have 1 or 2 questions. Excellent. So thank you, John. Just saying, glad we did the workbench. Ben, appreciate that, John. Glad that was helpful for you. Do we get option to run Cassandra operations as well from Workbench? So what sort of operations might we run from Workbench? There are things we can do. It's a great question, Raj. Great question. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah. So yes, but not quite yet. The goal is we're going to integrate the dashboards into Workbench. So you can imagine. Actually, before I move on to that, why don't I show you it like this instead? This will make.
What about creating tables? I know that's probably not the operations that we.
Yeah, no, that's I showed that you can create tables and places and inserts and all that stuff. But actually, before I answer that question, let me show you this other feature because it will help. We also have the ability for you to deploy locally Cassandra. So the way that works is you go in, you click add a cluster. So I'm going to deploy this local cluster. Let's call it webinar. I can pick a version I wanted to install. Yeah. I can decide how many nodes I want to start up. Yeah. I'm going to go 1 because it's thing. And then what we do is we use Podman or Docker. If you install Podman or Docker in there, we'll use them to essentially start up Cassandra running locally. And here we'll do is I will go in and I will create that local cluster. And you'd have to bear with me while it pulls down the various things. So you can see here all of the stuff as it starts up. What I will do is I'll just disconnect from there.
So why might someone want to do that? Just to ask the dumb question. Why might someone want to do this, Johnny?
To test things, so as a developer, yeah, I can basically fire up very easily a local cluster in there and interact with it, the versions. I can do tests, I can play around with it, I can use it as my sandbox for experimenting things with. I can test out new features coming in Cassandra. One of the things that we're going to be adding in here, we haven't done it yet, but you saw how the versions of Cassandra were there. We're going to do something where we're taking the nightly build of the Apache project. So you'll also be able to say, okay, I want to try last night's build on the Apache project. You'll be able to start that up and interact with it as well. So it really helps you explore all the different features, all of the things you can do with Cassandra, test things, play around.
Yeah, like, and test out some operational things, like you might want to test out, some, point in time restore, commit log archiving, things like that as well.
So apologies, this took a little bit longer because it was downloading.
While that's coming up, Dimitri's thrown an idea at us. Another idea for tracing graph: when you click to a bar, the corresponding row in the table below is highlighted, selected.
Okay, so I'll also suggest, if you go here, yeah, this is another thing I'd love to get everybody involved in, please. So under the project, yeah, we have a discussions section. If you have any ideas, go ahead and create a discussion on any feature, anything you'd like to see in there, because I really want feedback.
Yes,
because we've been building it as we would use it, and it's better. It's always better to see how other people, what things they'd like to use it, what all those kind of things that it's tedious doing. Can you make a right click that does this? Any ideas, greatly appreciated. But go here for it. Any other questions?
Not right now.
Okay, so what we have here, yeah, is essentially a one node Cassandra cluster running in Docker, yeah, and there you go. It's all in there. You can, just like with the other one, I can go in there. Let's create key space. Factor of 1. That's why we change it to never use simple strategy in production. You can see the CQL, execute that, comes in. There's the key space created. And then the other thing we do, you have optionally, this might also be useful, is when you deploy a local cluster, you optionally can also deploy AxonOps next to it. So this local cluster here, I've checked the option to install AxonOps as well. So basically, there you have AxonOps connected up to this local cluster running in there, all of the metrics from that cluster. We can go in and I think, can we turn on repairs in here? I think we can. Yeah, let's turn on adaptive repairs. Now it's repairing as well. So the idea is that you can really get a fully working cluster locally, play around with it in there. Now, I think was it Raj's questions on the metrics, yeah, and operational things from within Workbench. One of the things we are going to do is, you can imagine as you're browsing around and you say you click on a table, yeah, we're going to do, we're going to load a dashboard window with a predefined set of metrics pulled from your AxonOps deployment. So if you're an AxonOps customer, you'll be able to essentially point this at your AxonOps installation or SaaS, and then you'll have a set of dashboards optimized for this being able to be loaded automatically as you browse around through the tree. We're going to be putting other features in there as well. We're working on a rec engine type of thing. But yeah, so plenty in there. Any questions before I move on? I can talk for ages. So
no, nothing new has come in.
All right.
We've still got quite a few people on.
All right. Other feature we've built, actually, important if you're installing this, yeah, I'd explain things. So we have introduced, in the settings section, we've introduced the concept of environment variables for your configuration. So imagine, say you didn't want to, I don't know, let's call it host, my host name, yeah, and you can give it 124.4.4, whatever, yeah. And then you can, this variable can be accessible across all workspaces or a specific workspace you like. And then what that does is, in the configuration for your connections, yeah, you can use those templated variables to define the connection. But the cool thing is the actual value of the template variable is what gets stored in the OS keychain encrypted. So you can use it for quite powerful stuff without, or maybe you have a standard template, you could change the host names and etc. There's a bunch of features around security in the app. It's connecting to a database. On the security note, we have we have a lot of stuff in there around that. We're running all of the code scanning against the builds every single time. And if you go under the releases, we also generate SBOMs. If you don't know what an SBOM is, essentially it's like a manifest of absolutely everything that's been used to build this application. And it's very common to be used in, it's very standard format for enterprise security tools to look at a piece of software and understand absolutely every package in there. So we build that out as well if you need to have a look at that too. And you can also see all the artifacts in there as well. But the other thing we can do, which I'm not going to do because I'm screen sharing, is we have the ability for you to enable the DRM feature of Windows and Mac. And what this means is if you enable this, first thing to enable it, you'll need to have admin permissions on the machine. It's gated. It should be gated behind admin. But basically, it'll stop you screen sharing. So if you turn that on, save it, you restart Workbench, it should stop you. If you put that in Zoom or Screen Grab or anything like that, it won't work, leveraging what Windows and Mac do. And the reason for that is often, depending on the classification of data you're getting into, sometimes, like a screenshot is as good as anything. So if you're particularly sensitive, you can even block that. We also do all the logging. Languages. It's all multi-language. We've got some good choices in there. One of my colleagues is Galician from Spain, so we put Galician in there. If anybody speaks Galician, you have Workbench in there. But and the way the app is constructed, we've obviously used the internationalization pattern for all values. So any other languages, if anybody wants, again, let us know. We then have a bunch of things you can configure around features. So for example, the Podman Docker stuff, you can define what you want to do. If you've installed Podman or Docker in a weird way, you can define the extra path so we know where to find it. But if you've installed Docker in the standard paths, it will just find it and use it. But if it doesn't, you might need to tweak it in there.
Hey, Johnny, I think I'm just going to do the 5-minute check here because though we're after dark, we need to allow people to leave at some point, don't we? Is there any...
Yeah, I suppose the final cool feature is the AI assistant.
Okay.
So this is, as I said, this is experimental. Let me make it a bit bigger so you can see it. And basically, you can ask it anything about Kafka, Cassandra, or AxonOps. So like, what is a static?
And we are really saying that this is experimental, but hopefully it demonstrates the direction we're going. We've put a reasonable effort into it as well, haven't we? What have we done to deliver this, Johnny?
Oh yeah, so I mean, this is a trained RAG AI app we're hosting. So yeah, and I'll point out you will have to sign in to AxonOps to use the AI. So if you haven't got an AxonOps account, you won't have to pay for anything. But I'm not putting this without any authentication on the internet. So
do that from within Workbench, yeah? So yeah, when you install Workbench, you'll have the ability to do that, yeah?
Of course, yeah. Essentially, if you'd like to think of it, that's kind of like an iframe, yeah? It's just loading a remote page in there and asking the questions on it. But yeah, it does what it does. But yeah, so I think if that's the time check, I should probably stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to just bring up that last slide on Workbench? We'll just sort of wrap up.
Okay. Any questions?
I just want people to be able to see the QR code as well, so that it's on the screen for them.
There we go.
All right, good. So you got the QR code there, folks. Literally, you just go to axonops.com, you go to products, you'll see Workbench, click on there, and you've got the route you need to go in order to be able to do this, in order to be able to download it. Simple install, Johnny. Do you want to talk briefly about the install of it?
Yeah, in fact, even better, why don't I show you the install? It's really easy to do. Okay, so if you go to AxonOps.com, products, AxonOps Workbench, you can see all the features in there. Download and install. Down install, and obviously pick the flavor you like, different packages in there, or go straight over to the project on GitHub to do it. So every installer is there for you to download and install it.
Super, that's great. If you pop the slide up again. So that's good. So folks, thanks very much. I think we're always determined to at least finish the After Dark by the bottom of the hour. We really appreciate all your time, all your questions, and your engagement and your encouragement. Thank you very much. Look out for the next masterclass. We'd love to engage you one-on-one around Workbench. It's a totally free open source project. We're determined to get into people's hands. It's absolutely usable today, isn't it, Johnny?
Yeah. No, you can definitely connect. We have people using it.
And we're not going to be calling it a 1.0 until we're delivering connectivity to the AxonOps dashboards, which will be coming in the next release. But it is fully functional and available. And we would, as you said earlier, Johnny, we'd love people engaged on the GitHub project, getting in the forum, making suggestions, and really helping us move.
And we'd welcome contributions as well.
Absolutely. And also, we're going to be doing a Workbench for Kafka. Watch this space for that. So I think with that, we will bring a close to the 5th AxonOps Masterclass in the series, and thank everybody for their valuable time. We know it's valuable and we appreciate it. Thank you, folks, and thank you, Johnny, for all your efforts as always.
Hold on, I think there's a few. Is there a few questions there?
No, I've been tracking them all. We're all good. All right, folks. Thanks very much, all.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.